Did you know that Modern's ban list currently consists of 50 Magic the Gathering cards? Some cards on this list have lived there since the format's conception, while others are more recent additions. Some are noticeably stronger than others. Some are stranger than others, and some are relics of a bygone era of Magic card design that quite frankly look out of place alongside many of the most recent additions. And speaking of recent additions, the Modern ban list will soon contain 51 cards. After a historically dominant performance at Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3, NAU, Winged Wisdom, is surely not long for this world. This could happen as soon as next week. Many Magic the Gathering players have even go so far as to call NAU the Hogak of the set, in reference to another infamous legend from the first Modern Horizons that quickly found itself on the Modern ban list, though perhaps not as quickly as some may have liked. But what exactly makes NAU, Winged Wisdom, or Hogak, Arisen Necropolis for that matter, ban-worthy? Or Blazing Shoal for that matter? Is Glimpse of Nature, which is currently banned in Modern, as bad as or possibly even worse than NAU? What about Birthing Pod and Splinter Twin? How do they compare to NAU in terms of Modern ban worthiness? In this video, I will discuss not only the Crimes of NAU, Winged Wisdom, but I will also compare it to other cards on the Modern ban list. I want to explain why different types of cards tend to get banned in Modern and where NAU fits in among all of them. I will also talk about a few other powerful cards that are surely on Wizards of the Coast's radar and why they could soon join NAU on Modern's ever-growing ban list. Should Fury have been banned, and should Grief perhaps join it? Is NAU really as bad as all of these? Let's begin, shall we? But first, we all know that coding is a useful skill in today's job market, but for many of us, the thought of learning how to code makes our eyes glaze over, and we start thinking instead about what our next commander deck will be. Ooh. Oh. Who no? Well, thanks to Boot.dev, sponsor of today's video, you too can learn how to code, all while playing a captivating, self-paced, online role-playing game. You'll never be bored learning to code again. With Boot.dev, you'll learn back-end web development from start to finish in both the Python and Go programming languages, all by playing an RPG-style online game. Earn XP, levels, achievements, and even complete quests to get a top spot on the global leaderboard. The whole time you'll be writing a ton of code, which is important because getting your hands on the keyboard and shipping projects is the only way to really learn. The folks over at Boot.dev know that coding can be tricky. That's why they've created Boots, a powerful bear wizard AI that can walk you through your issues. Did you know there's never been a bear wizard in Magic the Gathering? Well, Boots is venturing into uncharted territory, all to help you when you're struggling to understand a concept. You can also ask for help in Boot.dev's vibrant Discord community. What's more, Boot.dev never wants a student to feel like they spent their money on something that isn't helping them. That's why they offer a free demo of every course and their interactive features, as well as a 30-day no questions asked refund policy. So click the link in this video's description box and use my code Tolarian to get 25% off your first payment for Boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or even your first year, depending on the subscription you choose. And thank you, Boot.dev, for sponsoring this video. The Crimes of NAU. NAU forms the centerpiece of what will likely go down in history as one of the most broken modern decks of all time. Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3 was defined by a Bant combo deck featuring NAU, Shuko, and a pile of ways to go looking for either half of this combo. With NAU and Shuko in play, you can trigger NAU's ability twice for each creature in play for free. That's an absurd amount of value right off the bat, but it gets even more ridiculous if you have Springheart Nantuko in play as well. Every time NAU's ability reveals a land, that land triggers Nantuko and makes a fresh creature to equip with Shuko. At that point, it's almost always trivial to draw your entire deck and win however you'd like. As if that wasn't egregious enough, NAU's ability also provides the combo with a fantastic fail case. Even if you don't win the game, you still likely draw 6, 8, 10 cards. And if your opponent tries to remove your NAU to interrupt the combo, that draws you a card too. Bant NAU has all the makings of a broken deck. It's fast, often winning the game by turn 3. It's consistent thanks to the many tutors for both NAU and Shuko, legal and modern. And it's resilient, both because the tutors help replace any pieces to the combo that get disrupted, and because that disruption usually draws you into those redundant pieces for you. As far as bannings go, NAU is an open and shut case, but is that always true for a banned card? Is NAU more problematic than most cards on the modern ban list, or are the bird's crimes fairly commonplace? To answer that question, we need to understand why Wizards of the Coast bans cards in the first place. Why do cards end up on the ban list? What do you think makes for a banned-worthy card? Is it a card that is too good? Is it a card that is unfun? How does one decide on bannings? Consider the card Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer. Ragavan is widely considered to be one of the strongest creatures of all time, but based on Wizards of the Coast's current design philosophy, and the other cards legal alongside Ragavan, I doubt the monkey will ever be banned. This begs the question: why are some cards banned while others are not? Is Punishing Fire more powerful than Ragavan? It's banned. What about Mycosynth Lattice? Or Splinter Twin? Why is Fury banned but Grief allowed to run rampant? When I think of the modern ban list, I tend to sort them into one of the following categories. Banned cards are on the list because they are either historically broken, contextually broken, fundamentally broken, or because they exhibit broken play patterns. Now, these categories are imperfect. They are, after all, attempting to sort a highly complex collection of game pieces. You could easily make a case that a few banned cards fit into multiple categories on this list, but I do feel that every card on the ban list falls under at least one of these categories. Where do you think NAU lands? Let's take a look at each category, one at a time, and see how NAU stacks up against many of the banned cards that we might find there. Historically broken cards. Believe it or not, there were broken cards in modern legal sets even before the Modern Horizons era. Several of these cards have never been modern legal. They were problematic in a previous format and thus were pre-banned alongside the announcement of Modern as a new sanctioned format. Cards in this category broke the rules of engagement in Modern years ago for one reason or another. When Modern was initially conceived, Wizards of the Coast referred to it as a turn 4 format. That is to say, no deck in Modern should be able to consistently win the game sooner than turn 4. A lot of these cards were banned with this rule of thumb in mind. Many cards on this list have gotten a lot worse over the years, but surprisingly, some have actually gotten better. Birthing Pod, for example, has only gotten stronger as time has gone on, since Wizards of the Coast continues to print more and more powerful creatures to tutor for. Imagine the Golgari Yawgmoth deck with Birthing Pod. Other cards on the list have gotten a lot worse. When you compare Glimpse of Nature to NAU, the evolution of Modern is apparent. Both cards draw you cards based on the number of creatures you have, but NAU draws you 2 cards for each creature, while Glimpse draws you only 1. NAU works with creature tokens, such as those made off Springheart Nantuko, while Glimpse does not. When you aren't comboing, NAU is a 3/4 flying creature that your opponent will be reluctant to target with a removal spell. Glimpse is a 1-mana card that cycles for 1 or 2 cards at best. I don't know about you, but maybe NAU could take Glimpse of Nature's spot on the ban list. Splinter Twin is another great card to compare to NAU. Both cards are combo enablers that usually win the game the turn they are cast. Both combos end in a board full of creatures, but Splinter Twin costs 1 more mana and is a much less effective standalone card than NAU. Splinter Twin is extremely soft to spot removal, while NAU really isn't. Splinter Twin combos with a 3-mana do-nothing card, while NAU combos with a 1-mana card that can be found off of Urza's Saga. Fundamentally broken, or design mistakes. Many cards on the ban list are just straight up broken. They were broken before, they're broken now, and they'll be broken into the future. They don't need any support to do broken things. These are often considered the most notorious examples of design mistakes, since theoretically it should have been clear that they were too good with even just a few playtest games. When you think of a random banned Modern card, this is the list you're likely pulling from. Oko, Lurrus, and Euro are some of the most recent examples of this category of card, but design mistakes have existed for as long as Magic the Gathering has been a game. These cards tend to be banned in multiple formats, and sometimes every format. Skull Clamp is one of the oldest design mistakes from a modern set. A product of the first wave of the new artifact subtype known as equipment, play designers didn't realize that the card wouldn't just give players some value if their equipped creature died. Instead, they would be using the clamp specifically for the purpose of killing their 1 toughness creatures and drawing a card. Much like Glimpse of Nature, Skull Clamp has a pretty direct comparison to NAU. Both the Skull Clamp and NAU combos utilize equipment to draw cards. Both require you to have a board full of creatures to get maximum value. Both draw 2 cards specifically for each equipped creature. The key difference is that Skull Clamp does all this for a single 1-mana card. NAU requires you to also have a Shuko in play. In the head-to-head comparison, Skull Clamp is therefore even more broken than NAU, despite being 2 decades older than NAU. Let's compare NAU to 2 other cards in this category that both happen to have the same mana cost as NAU, Oko and Euro. These 2 cards, released in back-to-back sets with similar names, will each take over the game single-handedly. Oko is hard to remove via combat, and Euro is hard to remove, period. NAU, for all its strengths, is hard-pressed to win a game single-handedly, and as nice as the ability to draw a card when removed is, doesn't quite stack up to either Oko or Euro on the resiliency front. There's another card in Modern that many Magic the Gathering players are currently debating as to whether or not it too should be banned, and I certainly feel this card fits into the fundamentally broken design mistakes category as well, and that card is, of course, the One Ring. The One Ring needs 0 help to be broken. The protection mode is effectively Time Walk, while the card mode is often even better than Ancestral Recall. The card also combos with itself. Multiple One Rings help you stave off the life you'd otherwise lose to the burden counters. If the One Ring receives a ban in Modern, it will be because it is a fundamentally broken card. Contextually Broken. The next category of card is similar to historically broken cards in that they are broken because of their context. However, whereas historically broken cards were broken in the context of a bygone era of card design and power level, contextually broken cards are broken because of the existence of 1 or more specific other cards, or in some cases, types of cards. These cards tend not to be banned in every format, since not every format has the context necessary to break the card. Modern is a format that is currently defined by fetch lands, free spells, and a massively deep card pool full of obscure cards waiting for a reason to see play. Many of the cards on this list turn out to be broken because of the existence of these other cards. Contextually broken cards are easy for game designers to miss. These cards often have one intended purpose that's perfectly balanced, but then a card Wizards of the Coast didn't consider comes along, and suddenly you have a game-breaking combo. Dark Depths is a prime example of this. As written, there's nothing about Dark Depths that's too powerful, but combine it with Thespian Stage or Vampire Hex Mage, and suddenly you have a 20/20 flying indestructible creature in play a lot sooner than most other decks can handle. Despite not being a fundamentally broken card, I believe Dark Depths is the single most powerful card on the Modern ban list, within the context of the Modern card pool. It's no wonder that the card was among those pre-banned when the format became sanctioned. Eye of Ugin, on the other hand, was legal in Modern for 5 years before it became problematic. The card responsible for Eldrazi Winter only achieved broken status when an influx of low mana value colorless Eldrazi entered the format via Oath of the Gatewatch. Contextually Broken is one of the best descriptors for NAU. The card is just too strong with any reasonably costed permanent that can repeatedly trigger NAU's ability for 0 mana. Is Shuko contextually broken? Well, maybe, but if Shuko didn't exist, Outrider and Core, or even Lightning Greaves, would also be too good when combined with NAU. But even if neither of those cards existed, then NAU would still be disgusting in a Hammer Time shell with Pure Steel Paladin. So I think it's a safe bet to say that it is NAU, not Shuko, that is the contextually broken card here. But its context is not the only thing that makes NAU ban-worthy. Undesirable play patterns. Look at this board state. Do you have any idea what cards are on the battlefield? Do you have any idea what cards are in the graveyard? And what cards are in hand? This is the epitome of the final kind of banned card. Cards that make for miserable play patterns. When a card invariably leads to the same kind of game every time, that is a card that tends to find itself banned. This is especially true if, like NAU, the kind of games are drawn out, one-sided, or hard to parse visually. But that's not the only kind of undesirable play pattern. All that matters is that the play pattern happens consistently and isn't very fun for the opponent. Fun is subjective, of course, but the most egregious examples are hard to defend. Sensei's Divining Top, for example, is a very popular card to play with, but watching your opponent spin their top every turn, shuffle their deck with a fetch land, then spin their top again, is worse than watching paint dry. Second Sunrise, cornerstone to the infamous Eggs deck, and Krark Clan Ironworks are two more examples of this obnoxious one-sided gameplay. Now, generally speaking, these decks also have to be strong in order to be hit with the ban hammer. Neoform Combo, which can put a Grizzlebrand into play on turn 1, thanks to Allosaurus Rider, Chancellor of the Tangle, and Gemstone Cavern, then combo off for the win after a turn that lasts between 3 and 5 business days, remains legal in Modern because the deck just isn't consistent enough to be problematic. Many Modern players disagreed with the banning of Fury this past year, but the reasoning for the banning was the card's ubiquity and the play patterns of the card against small creature strategies. If you had small creatures, they were weak to Fury, and if they had an Undying Evil effect, well, that's an even more miserable play pattern. Anyone who played Modern in 2023 is intimately familiar with the feeling of having your entire board plague-winded for 1 mana, and your opponent ending up with a 3/3 double striker out of the deal. Many would argue that rather than banning Fury, Wizards of the Coast should have banned Grief, for similar play pattern reasons. It's fair to say that a Grief brought back by an Undying Evil was even more miserable than a Fury. Who wants to get 2 cards stripped from their hand for 1 mana, and then have to deal with a 4/3 menace creature? You know, if I had to pick one single card in Modern that I think will soon join NAU on the ban list, I would absolutely choose Grief. The card is a textbook case of undesirable play patterns. The topic of bannings is often insufferable. Too often, players approach the conversation from the standpoint of, I don't like playing against this card, therefore it should be banned. But the ban list is an important tool for maintaining the health of a format, and discussions surrounding this tool don't need to be frustrating. By developing an understanding of what makes a card ban-worthy, we can have a more informed and nuanced conversation about which cards should or should not be banned in the future. I believe NAU is a fantastic entry point for that understanding. I also think that Bird is going to be banned within a week. But what do you think? Do you agree with me that NAU should indeed be banned? How about my evaluation of the different kinds of banned cards? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, this Monday is a brand new episode of Shuffle Up and Play starring Charlie, aka Moist Critical, who sits down to play a game of Commander with myself, Voxy, and Krim. It's an episode you won't want to miss, and it airs this Monday morning, so be sure to tune in. And remember, you too can learn how to code with the same ease and joy as playing a game, because with boot.dev, you'll learn back-end web development from start to finish in both the Python and Go programming languages, all while playing an RPG-style online game. Learn to code by playing a game? That's right, you'll earn XP, level up, get achievements, and even complete quests to get a top spot on the global leaderboard. The whole time you'll be writing a ton of code, all while playing this game. What a great way to learn a valuable skill. So just click the link in the description box and use my code Tolarian to get 25% off your first payment for boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or even your first year, depending on the subscription that you choose. And thank you, boot.dev, for sponsoring this video.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
Welcome to Shuffle Up and Play and our brand new set. Charlie, what do you think of my set?
I think it came out super nice. You're more of an Aerith guy instead of a Tifa guy. That's pretty interesting. It's pretty telling. Hey, my name's Charlie, Moist Critical.
I'm Boxy. I stream Magic on Twitch.
It's me, Krim. You've seen me play on MTG Goldfish.
So I don't play blue. I decided to put this card in, and apparently it's hated by the masses. Somebody called Grand Arbiter Augustine.
You're a real scoundrel.
You're
You're a scumbag. You're a scumbag. I thought this was gonna be a fun game of Magic.
Yeah. If you want to give me a light tap.
It's not a light tap though. It's like a dominatrix like.
Safe
I
word.
like
Safe
light
word.
taps.
Safe word, safe word, safe word, safe word.
Safe word. Safe word. Krim,
I'm gonna-
please, can you get rid of the Grand Arbiter?
It is Chun-Li that will kick our faces in.
I will kick your face in. Yes.
This is chat's fault. I didn't do this.
Yeah, blame chat. All right.
Yes, this is chat.